Or I don't care if you
Dun,
want to
dun,
turn
dun,
it
dun, dun, dun.
Nobody wants their cameras on.
He likes his camera on because he's cute.
Oh, I'm like hair up in a bun and my scarf thingy covering
Me
my
too.
bald spots. So nope, I'm good.
No.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
Do you guys see who's
Hello,
on panel
hello.
with us tonight? And hey, Meg Healy.
Hello, everyone.
Who we got in here? We got Mr. Archie, Mrs. Archie, Meg Healy, Kate, Hope for Peace, Catalin, Sherry, St. Almost Fire, Carly.
Vintage Ink.
Hey, Vintage Ink. I
Sherry.
love that one.
Oh, we lost one.
Hey, Miranda. Oh, this has been happening. They keep booting. Because I think they're trying to look at the chat too, so they're probably like me because they're new at this.
Oh,
They're going to
yeah.
keep booting themselves out. That's okay. Just keep calling back in.
Did I get booted out?
No, you're in.
No, Tammie did.
Tammie.
And she's back. Hey, Jay.
She's coming back. There we go.
Dalen. Hello.
Hello, Dalen. Jay.
Well, welcome to the new Thursday nights, Mr. Sheriff. We're not calling it Ladies' Night no more. We decided to call it, what was it? Island News. The Island News is catchy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Tammie Barnes,
Yes.
who everyone knows and loves, and Nelly FDZ.
Hello.
Or you say Zed. Zed or Z?
Well, I think I always say Z. I don't know.
Oh, good. Good. Dalen just got out. Dalen, right? Just got out of the hospital.
Nice.
Today.
Hey, couple stars.
She said, woot, woot.
Woo, woo.
Hey, couple stars.
Yep.
Well, ladies, let's start with Nelly since she's on the top there. What do you guys want to say anything to start with? Oh, private chat. Nelly?
Oh, good. Hey, Bartwan. West Haven.
West Haven.
Mary T.
So I think we were going to touch a little bit on Dylan Tallman, but I think we're going to save that for next week's. We'll touch on Krista, Dylan, the Sherlyn, the whole cellmate secrets, but tonight up until like even 10 minutes ago, I was still learning more about the situation. So tonight, as you guys can tell from the description, what day was that when we talked to Ronnie and Cindy and Jamie? Thursday.
Coming up on a week ago.
I think it was a little. Actually, I'll just look on my phone really quick and see what the day was.
We lost Tammie again. Tammie, quit hitting the back button. Dang it. Yeah, I like it too, Kate. Blonde looks good on her.
Okay, so Tuesday evening, I was talking with Ronnie, because one of the big things that we hear around is that NK was at the courthouse on sentencing day. People, what was that? Hey, Mary. Hey, Bella Marie. And so, Ronnie had just told me, hey, in 30 minutes, we have a Zoom call with Chris. And I said, well, do you mind just asking him this? Because they told me what they remembered, but it's been so long and all this crap being fed to them from so many people that, I just wanted for sure, since I knew they were about in a few minutes to talk to Chris, just, could you just ask him to confirm it for me? And he did. So it was not long after, probably as soon as they were done their visit with Chris, Ronnie was texting me immediately and letting me know what Chris had just told them. So, coming from the source, I guess, whether you choose to believe it or not, I believe she was there. And Tammie,
Just Tammie again.
Tammie, if it's easier to like not pay attention to the comments, we can just try and
Yeah, we can
highlight them
relay
where
it.
you can see them, so you don't have to be in the comments. Because I know exactly what you're doing. You're booting yourself out by trying to look at the comments. No, not in the courtroom, Meg. Not in the courtroom. We'll show some pictures in a little while of kind of where she was kind of in the hall from where he had walked out into the courtroom. She was back there and she was doing an interview, and I'm gonna read some stuff off in a little bit, but I have shown things to Tammie and Nelly. Nelly, we'll start with you from just the little bit that you've already saw what I've started sending you guys so that you guys can see the proof as well and know what you're talking about up here. Kind of what do you think about it? What are your thoughts on if she's there or not there, just from what we've seen? Nelly, you're up, girl.
Nelly. Well, Dalen
Hear
says
me?
you both look good. I love the new hair. Well, thanks, Dalen. I mean, I try.
Now we can
I
hear
try to do what
you,
I can.
Nelly. We can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me now?
Yep, now we can.
I said from what you've sent me and all the stuff that we've seen, I absolutely do believe that she was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was nay before, but now after seeing this, yes, I do think she was there.
Mm.
Thanks, Bubba Joe.
What about you, Tammie?
I do believe she was there. I think she was just that.
Oh,
Oh,
there she goes again.
is she doing it on her computer or her phone?
I think
I'm
it's
guessing
gotta be
her phone.
Is this like the channel? Is this Barton?
Part one, yeah.
Barton. I think that's very interesting. In a little bit, I'm gonna put the link in if you want to call in, because I somewhat,
I'm sorry.
I don't know about hypnotized as much as kind of drugged up. Chris always kind of looked like he, and they did no drug tests on him, which is bizarre to me. Yeah, bizarre to me. Okay, Tammie, go ahead. What you were thinking about, what you've seen and what you believe.
I'm sorry. I keep losing the signal. I have to keep coming back. But I do think she was there because, people wouldn't be looking for her thinking that she wouldn't be there. But
No, Kate,
But
Jamie
I believe
was
she was
not
there,
there.
yeah.
Jamie Watts was not there. Don't forget, Jamie has children also, and bringing children to a courthouse for like that, and it just no.
Hey, Emma.
But a lot of people, hey Emma, are like, well, wouldn't media have caught her there? But again, this is at a time before her interviews were out and everything like that as well. So while we knew there was a mistress named Nicole, we didn't really know too much at that time on really what she looked like, because things weren't released really until after for her. And remember, we heard her, but we hadn't really seen her because they did the voice recordings in the park and all of that. Poor Tammie. But she was actually let me go here and just
Yeah, I agree, Car. They should have done.
They absolutely should have done that. Very much so.
Isn't Jamie afraid of flying, or it could be wrong? I know Ruzik Jr. was afraid of flying. I've never heard that about Jamie, but I haven't actually asked Jamie why she wasn't there. I just know for sure she was not there. If you think she was there, Cher, do you believe AD was correct saying she laughed at him in the hallway? Yes. What Chris had actually said was
she smirked at him or something like that.
She was in a overflow room outside, so in the hallway from where he had walked in and out of, she was back in there. And the media was only allowed outside the courtroom and in the courtroom. They weren't down that hall where they keep inmates in rooms waiting to see the judge. And there's rooms where NK was standing there. I do believe, yes, she smirked at him like a haha, which is bizarre. And Chris had said to his attorneys, like, something's not right here. this isn't right, something's going on. And the attorney said, too bad, too late, done deal, like, that's too bad. And then when they had told the attorneys and everything and Chris's family, they flew out the next morning and had told them, here, let me read here. And this, I was talking to KK, so again, whether you want to believe it or not, but she was standing outside the door of the interview room after his sentencing when he was walked back and was smirking at him. This is what Chris had said, and Ronnie, his sister, everyone told me as well. They literally flew out to see the Watts the next morning and told him it didn't matter. They were only trying to save his life. So when you hear Cindy talking about, they kept telling us they're trying to save his life and not get the death penalty or whatever. They were absolutely, this is where Dylan Tallman's going around telling people that's illegal for them to do. They're not allowed to use that against you or whatever to make you plead. Yes, they are. We all know this. It's like in the book for dummies. Absolutely. Detectives and police and all of these people are allowed to lie to get whatever information they're looking for, whatever. But yes, they are allowed to lie to you. They absolutely could say, you're going to take this deal or you're going to get the death penalty. They absolutely could threaten him with that. And the Watts being afraid of that, because again, Chris Watts has never had so much as even a parking ticket. So being threatened with death penalty, and like Cindy was saying though, like he already got death penalty. Like he's never walking out of that prison alive. To Cindy, he has that sentencing anyways, and I see where she's coming from.
Yeah.
I wonder why Chris was dog whistling to NK to contact him. I haven't heard about that, Bartwan. Dave, probably the only time we have agreed on something. Who's Dave? Bella Marie, why did Chris confess? Just curious about your opinion. I think he confessed because he was scared. I think he confessed because he was threatened with death penalty. I think he confessed because he knew nothing. He was like a deer in headlights when you, even if you were to go to court over like let's say a serious traffic violation or something, and he has never been to court before, that's all scary. So I think he confessed from fear, like most people do. And honestly, statistically, 9 times out of 10, they're closing a case on people confessing. Remember, there's been innocent people released 47 years down the road, or 20 years, and however many after DNA clears them, and these people have also confessed to doing the crimes and taken plea deals. But then they get cleared many, many years down the line. So, you know, you can't say, well, he confessed, he's guilty, because innocent people take plea deals.
Although, to be fair, usually those innocent people resist.
And he was resisting.
Not really. Once they told him he failed the polygraph, he pretty much folded like a house of cards.
Yeah, Dalen, you'd rather be, but again, they don't know. It's all new to them. It's scary to them. Even the Watts are not familiar. They had never even had to go visit their son in a jail, let alone a prison. You know what I'm saying? So that's scary and confusing for people. Like, they're very much out of their element. Even to this day, like, talking to Cindy and Ronnie, it's sad because they're very out of their element. They trust prisoners. They send prisoners that are released money. Like, they are really good people from what I've gotten to know, and very, very easily manipulated, if you will. Very easily manipulated.
They want anyone who's willing to throw them something.
They don't know who to trust.
They're gonna jump at it because they just need something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fact that he knew where the bodies were is a huge, huge problem. If he didn't know that, then maybe I could see something down the line. But he knew that, He knew going into that interview where his children were, and he was,
Yep.
for all intents and purposes, he was fine. So, yeah, he definitely should have a psych eval, because whatever parent could just be walking in there just casual like that, knowing what happened, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I kind of, because I see Chris as having what I call the battered men syndrome,
Oh,
I
that's
really
Tammie.
do think that he should, have been evaluated, because I think that he has always maybe been a little bit mentally off, and he probably just never knew. That happens all the time. For him to get, he's very easily manipulated and he gets in controlling situations, I guess you want to say. People always controlling him. I see him as being beat down, and that takes a mental toll on you. It does change you mentally. So,
Yeah.
What a pain in the butt.
Are you hitting the back button by chance, Tammie?
No, I'm not even touching the computer. It's just popping out.
Oh, jeez.
well, I mean, you can believe that, Delaney, but I absolutely believe, and I want to show the pictures of him on sentencing day and have you guys have in mind that, like,
Delaney, it could have been shock.
yeah.
It didn't look like shock to me, because he wasn't like in a zombie state. And he was able to lie and everything, because he knew where his kids were and saying he wanted them to come back and all that. But maybe. I wouldn't rule anything out with this case.
Yeah, and my thing on it is, he knew where they were. I'm not saying Chris deserves to be out of prison. I'm just saying that even if it's so much as somebody helped him plan this, those people deserve to be punished. And in Colorado, most places, but Colorado for sure, there's no statute of limitations for charges on murder. So while, the case is closed on Chris, if there was ever ties to anyone, and I believe even just helping put that in his mind, because he was easily to be manipulated. I think I just don't get the whole thing, but that's a whole nother show of her Googling a year before. It's no mistake. And then within 6 weeks of her actually getting involved with him, his whole family's annihilated. So
No, I
Yeah, she
agree. He
definitely
deserves to
sought
be where
him
he's
out.
at, but I believe he had help.
I agree too.
So a couple stars, my theory always goes back and forth in my head, but I definitely think that NK was involved. There's multiple people were involved here. And that's coming from listening to Chris's words as well as listening to the words from the Ruziks. So on both sides, two people that we see this good side, evil side somehow with Ruziks and Watts, but both sides here say they. Multiple people means they. So that's more than Chris.
Exactly. He even said we wrapped her in a sheet. Who is we if it's, not him by himself?
I never heard that one.
Yeah, he and if you look at his,
It's in his interview
In Wisconsin?
Yeah, and that's the one she's talking about.
I just want to see if I can.
And he said she wasn't supposed to be there. So did he mean NK wasn't supposed to be there?
I've heard that before, and I heard someone talking about it. I can't remember who. It wasn't NK. It was someone else's parking lot.
So you guys see when he's walked, oh, that's so blurry. He's walked out from, where's that? You see that hall, like right behind that officer walking him out? Down in that hall are the rooms where he was kept and where NK was. It's not, she wasn't in the courtroom or whatever. They kept her on a whole different side. So when he walked out is when
Welcome
he
to the
seen
Crazy
her.
Train, Izzy style.
Thanks, Izzy. Woo woo.
Sorry, I believe he killed himself.
She could have been watching from a different room in the courthouse, you know, from a TV without anybody knowing it.
Well, I guess she was there to, yeah, she maybe, I mean, I'm sure she was probably listening to it or watching it, but apparently she was doing the, she was in the victim's advocate office. That's what I think, yeah, giving her, she was giving an interview just in case it had gone
In case he changed his mind and decided to,
from the judge,
yeah.
yeah. I absolutely believe that she was there, and
Well, what was she going to do if he changed his mind?
Probably lawyer
Cops
up.
are coming for you.
Sorry, that's over here by me.
the DA wanted to give Chris the final humiliation of NK. Been there. Yeah, or it was some kind of intimidation is all I can like really see that as, because he was sentenced, he took the plea deal, but yet for some reason he still says he's worried about feds and that monitoring his calls and letters. Hey Mandy, hey Hurt Locker.
Well, there is that, but I mean, like,
Here's
how much, like, you can't say, oh, I believe Chris here, I don't believe when he said this. You know, you either think he's a truthful person or you don't.
Yeah, that is another thing. Everyone's, well, he did it all.
Hi,
He confessed.
Mandy.
He said he did, but then, well, he says this, but we're picking and choosing what he's lying about and what we're believing that he's saying. So you're saying, I believe him here, but he's a liar there. How do we know it's a lie?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Because it was even hidden from his family. Like, she wasn't in the courtroom. She was in a whole different area, and they have done nothing but protect this woman. So, of course.
Oh yeah, they treated her with kid gloves, so through the whole thing.
I've never seen
she
somebody
deleted stuff.
Oops. Chris is so religious, so into God, wasn't he telling his family exactly what happened?
What were you gonna say, Tammie?
He wasn't drug tested because he had no signs of being under the influence when he finished.
I was just going to say, I've seen somebody treated so well to be involved in a murder of 4 people.
Yeah. And Daisy Duke, I mean, how do you know he didn't tell the truth? I'm not saying I believe it, but maybe it was Shanann who did that and then he killed Shanann. I don't believe that, but...
No, I would see other people doing it over him.
I don't either.
I don't believe
we don't know what the
Shanann did
truth
it.
is. We don't know if he's told the truth. And that's the problem.
That's the thing. He's lied from the beginning, so...
Oh, and he's told
So you don't know
different
what's the
stories.
truth and what's not.
Ash and Emmy, there's... there is someone who has friends in that court who said, yes, she's absolutely there. Can these people come forward to me and put a statement out? No, because as of right now, I believe since she had her name changed, that's when she was put in witness protection. I think she was always protected, but I think she is like in witness protection now. And the reason being, because I looked it up today, is because of death threats on her life. She is one of the most hated women in America. If you Google her, it actually says that. So you could get
she should
special protection for that.
Yeah, but Daisy Duke, what details? I mean, we don't know that Shanann didn't... I mean, obviously that's a far leap, but we don't know that Shanann didn't kill the kids. Like, maybe that is the truth. Maybe Chris did tell the truth. I'm just playing devil's advocate because I don't actually believe that. But I mean, everyone keeps saying we'll never rest until Chris tells the truth. Well, how do you know he hasn't? People want Chris to tell the story that they think is true. That's not necessarily the truth. I mean, everyone would love it if
I
Chris
believe
would
he's
go
told the
out and
truth
say
in some.
NK was involved and she threatened me and all this, and a lot of people would believe that, but that's your truth. That's not necessarily what actually happened.
I think there's a little bit of truth in all the lies he's told.
Yeah, me too. I think
The only thing I can say for sure is Chris is where he belongs.
yeah, and I agree with that. And
Yes,
I've
he
never
is.
made any promises to the Watts family of I want to help get your son out of prison. They know that that's not me. My exact words to them was I think he should be in prison, because he brought this into his family. He had a hand in it, whatever. But should other people
exactly
be charged as well? Absolutely. Even if
Yes,
it was just
I
a
believe,
plan
yeah.
that somebody put that in someone's head. You put in someone's head to murder children and a pregnant woman. You do not deserve to be free on the streets. You should at least be in a mental ward.
Oh, there goes Tammie again.
Oh no, Tammie. No, you're not blocked. We see you, Emerald.
Every stream she does, people come in and ask if they're blocked. If you were blocked, you wouldn't be able to even view the stream. If you can see the video, you're not blocked.
I'm blocked from people and I can watch their stream. I just cannot
You can go to their channel and everything, really?
Yep. I cannot
'Cause
comment.
you're not supposed to be able to.
I can't comment and I can't send super chats or anything like that, but I can watch their live streams if they have me blocked. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to see their channel at all.
Oh. The battery song was the answer for me.
Hey, Megan.
Well, I'm not sure really about that because I definitely like my song lyrics. I think I've sent him songs. I post song lyrics all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty.
It's one of those things that could have a double meaning because technically they call that a battery, the storage. It could be just a coincidence too. Could just be a song that he really liked and where his head was at, wanted to see the lyrics.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Girls, I never asked you. What do you guys think about the Metallica lyrics being sent?
That is so creepy.
It was very creepy.
I guess I can't even think of it.
Little
I
coincidental.
mean, why would you send that song at that particular time?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. I didn't really look at the lyrics to this before because I really didn't think of anything.
Yeah,
but it's not
Mary,
good.
he was talking about Shanann. That's, yeah.
As a threat? Oh, that's a good... Who said that? Actually, I like that.
How is the song a threat?
Well, here, baby, you have a great voice. Why don't you read out the lyrics for Battery? Because I actually haven't looked at them in a long time.
Lashing out the action, returning the reaction, weak or ripped and torn away, hypnotizing power, crushing all that cower, battery is here to stay. Smashing through the boundaries, lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery. Pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill a battery. Cannot kill the family, battery is found in me, battery, battery.
And where was his family found? Oil batteries. I mean, it could. Maybe, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it is very possible.
I think they knew
But
each
it
other
could mean
longer
a
than
lot of
6
things.
weeks also.
Yeah, I think that was longer than 6 weeks too.
I think it had to have been because, I mean, she lived in North Carolina before, moved to Colorado, and then boom, they're moving to Colorado.
Yeah, I think they knew each other.
There's just too
Long
much there.
before what they
Why
said.
would
Reading off the weaker.
That's interesting.
Why would
actually.
you move to North Carolina to Colorado, the same places that he and Shanann moved to? That's just too weird.
Oof, that is. Could NK be a stalker? I think she definitely was a stalker. Hey, Stephanie. I mean,
And that's something that's weird too. Is like there's this texting back and forth between Chris and NK about the Metallica song and all that. Why wasn't that in with the other all those deleted texts? Why was that separate? I don't understand that.
my weirdo. They would have had to know each other longer than that to practice their lines. Chris didn't have much lines. I'm guilty.
Just like and like
Right.
All that like, oh my gosh. Makes me want to claw my ears. Whoa.
True, Mandy. I mean, it is still a bit creepy, yeah. I truly believe that it had something to do with the Dirty South, in my opinion. I thought that for a long time. Hope for peace. Mr. Sheriff, so not to make NK look involved. Yeah, I guess he definitely thinks she's shady, or...
Yeah, she's... A lot of weird stuff there. A lot of coincidences.
Here, the thing, though...
But that doesn't make NK look not involved. It makes her look involved. Like, that's why it doesn't add up for me. Like, with all the stuff that we know from the discovery about NK, why the police didn't go after her harder is weird.
Or...
It makes me wonder
It's very weird.
if there isn't something that the police know that we don't.
It is, yeah.
Because if any of us would have deleted our text messages, I'm sure we'd be in a crap ton of trouble.
Yeah, deleting the messages, the phone ping early that morning after this all went down.
They didn't even look into that.
The long phone call the night before. I mean, there's so much there
that nobody can remember.
So it makes me wonder why. Like, do the police know something that we don't? Like that's what really pops in my head. It's either the police are corrupt, or they have information that we were never privy to.
Meg,
because technically that's messing with evidence.
Yeah. Oh, she definitely. Okay, that's a good point, Tammie. Because remember, let's go back to Casey Anthony. She got charged for only lying to police and hindering their investigation, right? She didn't get charged with the murder. She did her time in prison for lying to police. NK at least did that much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, she actually hid.
She hindered the investigation. She lied. She deleted. She did all of these things and got 0 charges.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Carly. Like, it's so weird that she was deemed a witness
instead of a suspect. The murderer lived at her apartment for damn near 6 weeks.
Yeah, like that's why it just keeps ringing in my head that maybe she told the police that she knew Chris did it and she was there or whatever, and she's willing to testify against him, blah, blah, blah. So they say, okay, we'll drop the charges against you because you were afraid for your life, thinking he'd kill you too if you didn't go along with it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And we just never got that bit in the discovery, because I guarantee you I would stake my life on it. Even people who have the complete discovery, that's not all the information the police have. It's not.
Oh, no.
It can't be.
So
and innocent people...
No.
Innocent
I wouldn't be
people
shocked
don't
at all
change
if that's
their
what
name.
went down. If NK actually was involved, but she went to rat on him, and they sealed that. But they said, okay, we'll drop charges if you agree to plea. She did, but Chris confessed and took the plea anyway, so they just let her go.
Yeah, they could have just, let's get him in there.
If you're innocent, you wouldn't delete your text messages. You wouldn't destroy your SIM card.
Not
you
only
wouldn't
that,
change
she told
your
Chris
name.
to do that, and all of her friends.
Yes, you
numerous
don't,
friends of hers.
innocent
She told
people
all of
don't
them.
delete stuff.
Yeah.
Amber
There
Frey
should be
didn't.
nothing to hide. Exactly. Amber Frey stood up. She didn't know that he was married, and she stood up there and apologized to the family for what she did, even though she didn't know.
There you go, Cooter.
Ain't it nice, Cooter?
Yeah, NK has never come
It's all
forward
fluffy.
at all.
No.
No, not in the public, but like I can't like I'm always thinking about reasons like why the hell did they let her go? And that's the only thing that I can come to is she made some kind of deal, and it's all sealed, so we'll never get the info. But I don't know. Maybe
If you
she's-
looked at the
was
discovery,
tapping one of the cops, and they lost the papers on her or something. Who knows?
Bartwan. Oh, baby, how do I do that? I'm gonna put the link in there, Bartwan. If you wanna come up here, you sure can. Can cops trace text messages? She was Googling that Hurt Locker, and they absolutely, if they wanted to, they could. Now, it's said that they didn't, but I just, yeah, I guess they wouldn't. 6 days, you guys. Whole family gone, and they had this done and closed in 6 days.
Yeah.
And so. I'm not sure, Debbie. It's a good question to ask for sure.
Yeah, Daisy, that's yeah, I agree.
Tammie, if I think so if I ever had the opportunity to sit face to face with Chris Watts, I would say, like, to me, you are where you deserve to be, but like, stop protecting people and just say whether people want to believe him or not. He needs to just come out and say, he has to say the truth, like, because to me, there's definitely more, and there is protection of NK going on, and not just NK. Jim and maybe Troy or Trent, I can't put my hand on it, but they, to me, I think Chris is the fourth person that was there. There was 3 to 4 people, whether it was Chris, Jim, and NK, or Chris, Jim, NK, and Trent, or Troy. I can't really figure that out.
agree.
But I definitely believe 3 people for sure.
And they never even searched her apartment. Why didn't they at least go to her apartment? They were there for like 6 weeks.
I know, Tammie, that's crazy. And she was allowed to sell her truck or whatever happened with the truck, but met at a park and was picked up. Like, her vehicle, for some reason, was, there's Mama. Hey, Mama.
Hey, MamaKim.
Hey, sorry I'm late, y'all.
Hey, Mama Kim.
Hello. I'm sorry I'm late. It's been one of them days.
Well, since you're
I
up
feel
here
ya.
and you know what the topic is, what do you think? Because this was at sentencing November 2018. We knew there was a mistress, right, Mama? But we knew her voice, but we didn't so much, people didn't really know what she had looked like yet. So she could have gotten away with it, especially if they protected her and took her in sideways or whatever, or even, I'm sorry, Daddy was rich and powerful, but so is oil money. Media could have been paid off to not.
Right.
Or if she was protected, they obviously said, like,
Okay, here's the thing with me. Nicole.
Hey, Barton or Bartwan.
Hi, yeah, that's it. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Share. Great show. You're doing
Anybody?
awesome.
Hey, Bartwin, Nelly, Tammie.
Hello.
Here's the thing with me with that. Nicole actually came out November the 15th to the Denver Post, and she didn't actually go there. She was with her attorney, Edward Hopkins, which is a defamation attorney, and Denver Post came to his office, met her there. They took those real cool photogenic pictures of her. That is the only thing that she would allow to be shared in the media. And she gave her side of the story, which has now been proven so so inconsistent, but so for her to have been there, here's the thing with me. If there wasn't something told to the reporters by her attorney, look, you're not going to be able to take pictures of her. There's no pictures, there's no articles, there's no interviews, period, or there will be charges. That's
Well,
what I'm thinking.
media wasn't in the area where she was at, remember? Media was only allowed outside the court and in the courtroom, not in the area where Chris was being held and where she was in the victim's advocate room or whatever doing her statement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If there was a different room, I mean, in the hallway, I believe there possibly was reporters out there, but if she was in a different room that the reporters couldn't see, yeah, I mean, it's highly likely. But for her to be able to mix and mingle in the hallway and just, chilling, I think she would have been noticed due to the fact 4 days before, she had came out and exposed herself. However, if she was in a different room, and of course, Chris was led out to a different area, not through the hallway when he was let out, if I'm not mistaken. So that is where he could have seen her,
And that's what they're saying. They're saying it was after he was already sentenced and walked out down in, the door that they come out, which is not where anyone else would be because there's other inmates that are waiting to see the judge, So,
yeah, and it was said when he was left
Right.
is when he saw her, not when he walked in. So
yeah, when he left, and she was standing outside the room right at the door and smirking at him like, haha, got you, is what Chris had said to Ronnie to report back to us. So
yeah. And he did say that. I mean, that is what he told his family for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, with him going out a different direction that we could see that reporters could go into, then, yeah, I mean, it's a high likely, because Chris had to wear a bulletproof vest into that courtroom because there was a lot of death threats over his head at that point.
Oh, yeah. For kid killers are always.
So, for his safety, they were having to bring him at that point in and out where, everybody else wasn't, well, out for sure. I'm not sure about in. But he walked out the back entrance where...
And that's why it's interesting that even NK would be back there. So if it's true, which I personally believe that is an intimidation move, I feel like. Because why would she even be allowed back there?
Yeah.
They wanted them
it
to
would
see
have had
each
to
other.
have been an intimidation tactic. There's no other way to look at it. I mean, what in the hell would she be there for?
I don't see intimidation because that was already his sentencing. It was already done. What's more to left?
But he still
well,
could
not
have appealed and talk,
they,
and they don't want him to talk. He
says,
I mean, like,
I'm afraid his defense could have said, "Wait, hold up, we're gonna let's look at something else here." Yeah, he had already convicted himself, but there was still the possibility that his attorney could have been like, "Hey, wait a minute, we're going to look at something else here,"
Which is why the next morning they flew out to the Watts and said, like, this is a done deal. Don't even bother. Like, this is a done deal. We're just going to, like, he's not getting death penalty. We're just worried about saving his life. And Cindy's like, what do you mean? He's dead in there now anyway. He's never coming out alive. So why shouldn't we fight back? And yeah. Hey, Bartwan, I'll give you the floor for a little bit now.
Yeah. I was just wondering, did the DA go to the Watts as well, or were they totally not involved in terms of, or how were they advised formally of that situation with regards to?
I believe they did fly out there to Cindy and Ronnie's house. Yeah.
Yep, to say that he was going to accept the plea, or?
Yeah, actually, good question, and I'll ask right now.
Yeah, she'll just ask Ronnie right now.
I'll just ask, so I don't have to guess. What was the question again? If the DA flew out to Ronnie and Cindy to let them know.
And when?
Okay.
And when? Yeah, was it after the event, or? I
presume they would have been there when he was sentenced, so.
They were there at sentencing, but.
Yeah, they might have flown out beforehand to talk with him. This all happened so fast, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, I think so. I think that didn't happen. because it doesn't tie in. Because all they wanted was really Chris to plead guilty to all charges. So if they went to Cindy and Ronnie, they would say, no, they want to fight.
Yeah.
I do think NK being there is highly likely. I think that was organised by the DA's office. I think that was like the final, send-off, if you know what I mean. To just rub it into Chris and say, she flipped on you, mate. You know what I mean? This is the final, final finger.
I did just text Ronnie, but yeah, maybe they didn't go. I think it was they flew out after he was sentenced to tell him, like, it doesn't matter. But I don't know if that was just his attorney team or anyone else with the attorney teams. But again, it was court-appointed attorneys at that time too. They weren't really there to work for Chris, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, it looked like, as I understand in the US system, the sort of objective of a DA is, a public defender is to become a prosecutor. And therefore, they're not going to try and bite the hand that feeds them. I do think that they would have gone to trial if Chris really wanted to, but I think that they sort of were put in a position where, Rourke was pretty intimidating and basically I guess you could say, really make their lives difficult for their future careers, if that makes sense. That would be the implied threat, I would have thought.
Well, I mean, for him to go to trial would be pointless because he literally confessed in the interview room to killing Shanann.
Well, that's right.
So without being able to prove that Shanann killed the kids, and the fact that he admitted he disposed of the children the way he did, there is no way. They would just tell him, you can go to trial, but you will lose for sure. Nobody could win that case.
Not win it. I think I could poke quite a few holes in it, in terms of creating doubt, which then the judge would maybe take into consideration in terms of sentencing. Let's say, for instance, they started cross-examining witnesses. I have a feeling that NK would have pleaded. I don't know the amendments in. Is it the first where you got a right not to actually answer questions on the stand?
That's the fifth.
The fifth. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
you have the right to not incriminate yourself. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that under guidance by her attorney, she would plead the fifth on the stand regardless, and therefore that would automatically put the jury, even though it's not supposed to, would automatically place jury members on notice that maybe he was set up. And
that's what I think too. If there was a hung jury in there, because even if just one person was like, okay, wait, a mistress and this and that, it wouldn't have looked good. And for sure, they're supposed to be without a reasonable doubt. Well, to me, there is reasonable doubt because he wasn't alone. Is he a pussy or is he a monster who did this all? We can't have this both ways. And also, for the dogs to not alert in the house, there was no dead bodies in that house. That bodies were removed, so he killed his entire family and had them all removed in under an hour and a half, and the house cleaned.
Well, the girls weren't killed. Well, at least one of them was alive. We see that on Nate's camera.
You know what I was thinking? The police never did a reenactment, as I understand. If it was done, it was not made public, or it was not documented, or it was in the withheld section of the discovery. But I think that, if I was the defense, I would be, how can you prove that someone could do what Chris did that morning, in terms of time frames of all the events that took place that morning, in terms of when he arrived, You know, like at the very least, the police should have done a reenactment, but I think they didn't want to do a reenactment because it may highlight some things that were inconvenient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been like very, very tight schedule for him to do it all himself. It's possible, but
Right.
it'd be very, very, very tight.
Very tight
'Cause I
timeline
think
at
he
the
had
very
like a
best.
little over an hour out at Serby before other
Exactly.
people showed up. So, I mean,
Have you ever?
that's pretty fast.
Well, I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
to
about
dig a hole, smother
digging a
two
hole,
kids.
dragging Shanann 144
Yeah.
pounds on a sheet that didn't seem to be. It looked pretty clean, that sheet that was in the field. If that was the drag sheet.
Well, he could have carried her.
True.
Mm.
Did
That's
you
another
see that
thing.
video?
I just wanted to touch on this quick. Just in case anyone's thinking, Chris was not a weakling. He was a very big, muscular guy. In the Discovery, he was over 200 pounds. He wasn't like 180. He wasn't like weak and shit. No, he was very, very strong. This guy could hand me my ass easily. So he could have absolutely thrown a dead body over his shoulder and carried it a couple 100 feet.
Yeah. Prairie, were you a fireman?
What's that?
Did you mention once that you were a fireman?
Yeah, I was a volunteer fireman.
Yeah.
Years
Well,
and years ago.
I guess in the military and that they teach you how, and also in fire service, they teach you how to extricate a body out of a fire by putting them on like over your shoulder, sort of at the back, and distributing the weight that way.
Yeah, and being in the oil field, he may have been trained how to do it. Like you lay down beside them and you basically roll them on top of your back and then stand up.
That's it, yeah. And you see it in movies on the war, war movies where they're running with their equal size on across their sort of back of their shoulders somehow, and I don't know quite how it's positioned, but they're sort of flopped a bit, one leg. I don't know how it is, but it seems like where they got one hand in between the leg and the arm, and they're sort of distributing the weight that way. So that's highly possible as well.
It is. Like nothing's impossible.
No.
They sold Chris's truck? I didn't know they did that.
That's crazy.
They would have.
Wow.
It was a fleet car, so they would have probably put it into fleet distribution, if that makes sense. Like put it into an auction. Anadarko would have done that.
They would have had to sell his stuff actually because there's a $6 million lawsuit the Ruziks have against him. So
I hope
was that Chris's personal truck or was it Anadarko's?
No.
Oh, it was
that
Anadarko's.
was Anadarko.
That's Anadarko's truck.
So I
Which
guess
they probably
it'd be at their discretion, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's weird.
They probably would have leased.
Who said that? Dalen?
Yeah, Dalen.
Well, Dalen, didn't you say that they found nothing in the truck? So then, of course they would sell it.
Yeah.
Where
it was released.
Would he have been trained?
It's still weird to sell it, though.
Well, I mean, that truck definitely had one of the girls in it. We saw that in Nate's camera. But, it's just weird. I don't know. I don't know if that's a common practice for police. I know if it's like a drug bust or whatever, they do sell that stuff. But if it's evidence in a murder, I would have thought that they would keep it forever. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not with vehicles. Once they do their forensic analysis, Prairie and Sher, that they would then be able to put it back to its lawful owners, whether that be Anadarko, I would say so, and then they would have put like any company, they have a fleet. They often auction up old like after a couple of years of the warranty, they put that whole fleet up for auction and buy a whole new or lease a whole new range,
Yeah.
just so that they get the maintenance records, up to date. Can I ask you guys a question?
No.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you think NK?
Oh my God, Sherry, thank you so
Wow.
much.
Yes, Sherry, thank you.
Hey, baked cake.
Okay, go ahead, Bartwan.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, do you think NK working on oil rigs was maybe trained in the art of being maybe subject to some sort of like, what do they call it, where those pirates come on and they basically jump onto the sites and they take them over, like ships and so forth. And apparently it's happened with oil rigs as well, where they come up and steal stuff in
You
the
think
dead of
maybe she
night.
was hired, but like put there by a rival oil company to try and
Yeah. Actually, I
that?
do believe that her former background was bookkeeping. Even though she was a geologist, she did do a lot of bookkeeping. That might have been on the oil rig. She wouldn't be what you call those guys. She wouldn't be doing that job with the, where the guys, I don't even know what that's called, but the ones that are, getting those big pipes as they replacing them and popping them in as they're going down the drill well.
NK worked with big pipes.
She did like the
Yeah,
pipe.
so I think she might have worked as a bookkeeper there. But I think she was put in as a corporate espionage to find out more information about Anadarko, because
Could be.
they
They
knew they were going
were.
up for sale.
It was. It was.
Yes,
They were in
Bartwan, I like
negotiations
how you think.
at that time, I believe.
Yes, they were in the process, and I think that Warren Buffett's was like interested at one stage, and I think that was Chevron, and that somehow fell through, and then it went to Occidental, and Occidental have only just and you know what's ironic about it on the stock exchange? Occidental's code is Oxy,
Yeah.
OXY.
Yeah. Go figure. I bet Megan loves that one. Doesn't make
Yeah,
any sense.
so Oxy. Now,
Oh, Megan, no, but the shadow's moving, so it's something alive.
Weirdo, you
Watch
can.
out, honey.
Oh, sorry, baby. Or where do I? Can we put the link in here again, maybe? Weirdo, call in if you want to. Mr. Share, was it yesterday? Because we're always into this now, and he even said, he was like, you know what? Maybe Megan J is right. He actually said it out loud to me.
Maybe you are, because holy crap, it doesn't matter what angle you try and go, it can all fit.
Yeah.
Like it can fit that Chris was threatened and whatever and was forced to go along. It can fit that he did it himself. It can fit that he had multiple accomplices. Like it can fit any way you really want to put it together, which is
Again, we
very,
do
very
not
weird.
have reasonable doubt. Like yeah.
Well, if I had NK on the stand, I think that, I could but I know that she'd plead the fifth, but we could get other employees. And I know that Anthony Brown was probably the most truthful of them all, who probably got reprimanded for sort of intimating that they were having water cooler talk months before, as they were alluding that the affair was probably pretty well underway 4 or 5 months preceding that, or at least, there was a lot of attraction going on, and he sensed that. I think others did it within the company as well, but the official line is you can't talk about those things. They would have been specifically instructed, because, HR are all over you if you start speculating about, that sort of stuff. You're subject to being sued by NK.
No, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't Dieter, because Dieter was in the house. You could hear him barking during the wellness check.
Yeah.
It wasn't Dieter. It
Yeah.
was one of the kids, 100%.
I'm looking for.
But we don't know what happened beyond that.
Yeah, that's a good point, guys. That a lot of things can fit a lot of things. I think probably people do want to know what is factual is the phone ping. That at the very least, the law enforcement had an obligation to follow up on that because it's factual information. It's data. The absence of that alone is worrisome. And that would be an avenue by which a defence could say, well, this is factual. It's not speculation. Explain it.
Yeah. You don't think he drugged the girls before bed?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Those girls slept
Yes.
more time than they were ever awake.
Yeah, they were always given. What were they given?
Benadryl and
Benadryl.
Tylenol. And
Benadryl,
Cindy
yeah.
absolutely still has that stuff in her medicine cabinet from the girls, and she hated it. That's one of the reasons Shanann was upset. Cindy didn't think that the kids needed that. Not only did they get drugged at 6:30 p.m. on the dot every night and have to be in bed for 12, 13 hours,
Yeah,
they would
why
wake
is-
up and still have a nap
Why
in
is
the morning
nobody
around 11.
talking about that? Because that is not.
That's not normal. And also, I want to say the thing, where it shows that, was it Cece or Bella, that she took pictures of at the hospital, and Nutgate
Yes.
made her break out or whatever the
Yes.
crap it was.
Yep, she had a
Cece?
block test.
It was a test. I had the same test done
Yes.
on my son because he had all these allergies and some of it was bad, and he was stung by a bee on his finger and his throat closed up. So I went and got him
Wow.
allergy tested, and they poked 50 different things all over his
Yep.
back. And I went, as soon as Seth had that done and I seen how his back looked, I thought to myself, this is exactly what Shanann had
Yeah.
done. But she twisted it to make it look like Cindy's so evil and my kids are this allergic or whatever. It was just an allergy test done, and that is a very normal reaction. It's
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, it
she was
doesn't-
definitely looking for sympathy online.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that you're going to have a full-blown anaphylactic, experience where your throat closes up. I mean, it's just an adverse reaction and it can be hives.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, was there an autopsy done on the girls?
Yes.
Because I never saw any of that.
No, I don't think they could do anything because they were, or maybe they did because
No,
there
they
was
did an
black
autopsy.
sludge in the lungs, right?
Oh, in the
Yeah.
stomach. Yeah. Apparently there was
Right.
sludge in one of the stomachs, not
Yeah, I
the
think it was
lungs, but
Bella.
the stomach, which would be normal if you're in oil. But yeah, I never heard anything about any drug in their system.
I don't think they were protecting Shanann, though. They would not release that. They also said that
Well,
there
if
was
it
no
was
scars on
Tylenol or
Shanann.
something, there wouldn't be anything they needed to hide. But it was something like
Right.
a lot of people have said chloroform. I mean, they would definitely. Well, you would think they would put that in the discovery. But again, who knows? Oh yeah, no one's blaming Shanann Watts. I'm just saying, if we're going to talk about everything, we should talk about everything.
That's an allergy testing. Do you see? Like this is what happens to kids' backs with allergy testing. It's a very normal,
Yeah.
very, very normal. That's what happens.
I'm Tracy Osborne. I didn't see any autopsies in the discovery.
Meg, girl, there's a couple people that are Meg Healy. Getting some people are taking your text messages wrong. She's a very, very sarcastic person, I guess you could say. Getting to know her a little bit better. Meg Healy.
No, I know there's some details in the discovery, but I'm saying I didn't see any full autopsies. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
if they did a blood test on the girls. Since you guys know this, could you answer that? Did they do a blood test of toxicology on the girls?
They did.
I have a version of the discovery, but it's about half of what other people apparently have.
Prairie, what they've released is the substances they found, but they were mainly all determined to be derivatives of the oil that had infiltrated. So all the sort of constitutional benzynes and benzenes and all that sort of stuff that is apparently in crude oil was evident. So it's possible that maybe it was contaminated with in terms of that sort of made it difficult to access these other substances, if you know what I mean. But it's more than likely that Shanann was drugged because of just how why weren't there defensive wounds?
Well, I think he choked her from behind.
Here's the thing.
Yes,
You're right. They were sealed, and I think that's the Ruzic's. People are like, why did Chris have the records for the children sealed? It wasn't Chris Watts. I have to tell everyone. It for sure is not Chris Watts. I can tell you the Watts all told me.
It's not.
Chris, it's not the Watts. It's not coming from the Watts side. So the kids' files being sealed is coming from Ruzic's. And I'm sorry, but I know that's true. I've seen the proof with my own eyes. I've heard it. I know, and I believe them because it's there. That is coming from the Ruzic's who have it sealed, not the Watts whatsoever. And I want to also point out, to this day, the Ruzic's will not show proof of Shanann's baby was Chris's. Chris Watts's, but there's another Chris that she was seeing, and even there's pictures, and she has public postings, Shanann does, of helping this man house hunt. So
yeah, well, that's
with
neither
his
here nor
mom,
there
and
anyway.
I'm just saying they still to this day. I want to make it clear because I said I would. That's been sealed too and hidden from the Ruzic's. So, yeah.
Okay, Dalen saying
There's so
they're
much
sealed.
that's been hidden.
Okay, so are they sealed or not? If they're not
They
sealed,
are sealed.
send a copy.
Or they were.
If
They
they
were.
aren't, email us a copy.
Mama,
please.
weren't they sealed?
There's two versions. What?
I don't
The
know to
photos.
say if they're sealed. I couldn't say. I believe pretty much so that they are. I know that the Watts family, as well as Chris, has asked to see the DNA results, and they've been refused.
Someone says you can't seal that, and someone says they are sealed. Children's
There's two
medical records
versions.
absolutely can be sealed.
They're sealed.
Oh,
But-
yeah, definitely. I mean, really anything in a juvenile case is going to be sealed unless, that's just standard procedure. And
Why
that-
wouldn't you if you want green eyes? If you wanted everyone to know, that's a huge rumor that could be put to rest that could help their daughter look better. Why wouldn't you show that? It's weird that they wouldn't. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, because if it was me and it was my daughter and people were like, she was a cheater, I'd be the first one. Look, see? Because it would make Chris look even worse. And if that's what they want to do is make the Watts look bad, there's an easy way to do it. Show the records.
Yeah, that's correct, Dalen. And the baby was tested. It was in the discovery. That's why Nico wasn't actually transferred to North Carolina until it was either the very late September or October. So yeah, it was definitely tested, and you're correct. The results were given to Mr. and Miss Rosette. That's absolutely correct.
Green eyes, I can see your point with that, but I have to very politely disagree. I think they have a lot to prove. And the reason why is because everyone, including the law enforcement, has wanted to protect her from day one. Her image mattered.
Oh,
To
Dalen,
the
we
public.
weren't talking about the autopsy results. We're talking about the kids' medical records.
Yeah, their medical records.
That's
Oh,
where we were
okay.
getting mixed up.
But I think there is certain things that absolutely they should prove, because if they want to get behind all of these channels bashing people just voicing their thoughts and opinions and things like that, and they want to bash and they want to help cover up and they want to help lie on things. I absolutely, and this is my own personal opinion, I believe that they do have things to prove.
Well, I mean, if they don't want people speculating, they could easily just put out and say, look here. But really, I mean, I don't think that they need to. I don't think either family really needs to do anything.
I mean, I don't know. I have to disagree because it is the Watts' grandkids too, if you know. And I mean, I think
It
they have
is.
a right
They
to the
deserve to know.
list.
Well, if they do a DNA test, they have to tell the father, so Chris would know.
No, he's not gotten the results yet.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten the results.
He has asked for them.
Which would mean
Well,
he's
that's-
not the
that's
father.
ridiculous.
Now, the autopsy report said that the
That
gender could
actually
not
would do
be.
that, yeah.
The autopsy report said the gender could not be clarified due to the decomposing. But that's why he was sent off to the lab. The fetus was. It's for
Yeah,
the
because they can
actual.
find it with DNA testing.
Yeah,
Tammie
and the
Lee's own
results were
words, they
handed
wanted to
on to
protect
the Reese
Shanann.
family.
Why was
What
why
happened?
was Meg hidden?
They,
Are they
yeah.
Meg?
I text. Don't worry about it right now.
Oh boy, I didn't see it. I haven't been able to follow all of the chat, so.
I've gotten like 20 messages from 20 different people, so.
I don't know. I'll be watching closer. I know Meg does stir the pot, but she's always kidding as far as I know. But if there was something inappropriate, so be it.
But you know, Chris has said that the DNA results, you know, he's not even worried about seeing them. It doesn't matter to him because in his heart, it doesn't matter. Nico is his.
Yeah,
That is
and the Watts say
how
the
he
same
feels.
too. They even have Nico on a memorial and everything
Yes.
spelt the way Shanann
Yes.
wanted, I believe. So,
But Cindy
they do
really
deserve
wants
to
to.
know.
Yeah, Cindy really wants to see the DNA because she actually told Chris, "Well, it matters to me, Chris. You know, I want to see them." And
And
you know, I mean, I get it.
I feel like that could help even, yeah, that would be helpful to Cindy because if she does think, well, if she does have in her head that Shanann ran around too, you know, showing that could possibly make Cindy feel a little bit different about Shanann. I feel like, oh, okay, well, we're wrong about this. Like maybe it could be somewhat helpful. I feel like.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking for me personally, if I would want to see them.
Mhm.
Like if you took the emotion out of it, it's really a procedural. You'd think it'd be a procedural right that the father would know or be let know, regardless of the circumstances. I think what's interesting is like, well, Chris got pretty upset with Coda intimating that Shanann was the one leaving the marriage very early on, before him. Do you recall that in the interview?
Will you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. I was saying that Coda said to Chris in the interview, maybe to get him riled up, but he said that Shanann was planning to leave the marriage well before you.
Mhm.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yep, he did. He did say, "What would you think if I told you Shanann was planning to leave before you
Yes.
did?" Yep.
And
Yeah.
Chris got very upset about that.
Mhm.
Do you think maybe that when they were fighting, they had that passionate conversation or whatever Chris likes to describe it as? Maybe she told him that.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Maybe that sparked the whole damn thing. Who knows?
So Kate says, I think Shanann had issues too. The others don't want it public, which I agree. I think that is I think that is relevant at all. You mean it's not relevant?
I
think.
don't think that is relevant. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I disagree because I feel like her actions are relevant because I do think it matters. Okay, so
Well, depending if she actually did the kids, then yes.
yes,
but-
I do think it all matters because here's the thing. I'm sorry, but mentally breaking somebody down, it messes you up mentally. So if she was abusive, maybe not physically, but mentally to him, and that messed with him, I think that should actually matter in cases like this. I think it absolutely, I think it matters because everyone changes, like their minds aren't the same mentally after you go through abuse.
Can I just make the point that I totally agree? Because remember, women have put defence of battered women, battered. What is it?
Battered women syndrome.
Yes, battered. So if it applies to a woman, why can't it apply to a male?
That's exactly what I've been saying all along. I absolutely think that matters because it does matter for women. And when I was helping Rhonda, that's what I was helping her on. She shot and killed her oil tycoon husband.
Yep.
But she was abused and everything. But that's what we were trying to fight it on, was battered women. And actually, that's what the Blue-Eyed Butcher was, the first woman to receive that, because I knew about this for about 3 years as it was being really in the making.
Yes.
And when they were going to be using it in Texas, Blue-Eyed Butcher, I can't remember her real name, was one of the first to receive that battered women syndrome and have her case, and she's free today. And she stabbed her husband like 113 times or something like that, and buried him
Oh
in
my
the garden.
gosh.
Chopped him up and buried him in the garden. So he beat her. I believe he was like a cop or something. Like, he beat her down so mentally and physically. But that mattered for her. But why not, again, for men? Like, people don't see men. Oh, yeah, well, I
Exactly.
think that she like beat on him a little bit, but it doesn't matter. He's a man. Okay, what? He is a human. So, yeah, Bartwan, I know not many females will touch on that. It's not normal, but I've always said that. Because I come from abuse. I was made from abuse, lived abuse almost all my life, except for when I met this man. And so the way I see him in police cameras carrying himself, you can tell he's been beaten down. Even watching Shanann's videos, it was kind of like doing everything she said. Yeah,
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons Cindy didn't like what she saw with Shanann, because she didn't like her son going through that and what she was seeing in her son.
Wouldn't Cindy think her son was almost zombified?
What was that?
I would imagine that if you spoke to Cindy and asked her what she felt about Chris, she probably felt he was partially zombified, like from his former self.
She does, actually, yes. The first thing Cindy had said to me when I got on the phone with her was, he showed me his nipples. I don't, I know my kids, he is not a monster, and right away she got into, he was completely different while with Shanann. And when she actually had told Chris while Shanann was away, they didn't know about the affair or anything, but they noticed Chris's behavior and attitude was a little bit different. He was a little bit happier and things like that. And Cindy said to him, "Chris, you seem happier right now. You seem happy right now."
Yeah.
So there was something that they noticed in him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Baby.
I'm not a mental health physician, but I have a feeling that Shanann suffered from anxiety, and when you have an anxiety condition, you want to control your environment. So people have referred to things like OCD, but I think the underlying problem was she had an anxiety, maybe had allegedly maybe had an anxiety disorder, which wants you to control your environment to alleviate the anxiety. And then that meant that Chris was part of that environment. So were the girls. Hence, that anxiety's transferred.
Maria, Cindy is using you like everyone else. She will chew you up and spit you out like all the others. Here's the thing, is the Watts aren't using me.
Yeah.
I'm only getting to know them outside of the media and whatever people have put on social media and all that. I'm getting to know them myself. I am asking them questions that I have had myself and also questions people have had here, and they are answering them for me. I have not ever gone to them and said, I want your son out of prison. They know exactly how I feel about that. They just know that I believe more people should be in prison along with their son. I'm not out to go help with a 35C or any of that, you guys.
All that bullshit,
She's not
yeah.
using me. All they're getting to know me. I'm being their friend, and I am getting some questions answered, some questions, not. That's fine. But I haven't also been dogging them. I've really, truly been getting to know them for them. Like me and Jamie talk about motherhood, our children, baseball games, and like all of these things. They're not using me because I haven't promised to do anything for them, but give them a platform where I will be 100% honest, no matter if people want to believe it or not, and untwisted to answer the questions that they're willing to answer.
Yeah.
I'm not twisting it for views. I'm not asking everyone, believe me, whatever. And I even told them if I never talk to Chris, I am totally fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing that they could possibly be using me for.
Yeah, to be used, Cher, just
Right.
on that point, you have to be twisting it. If you're just if you're passing on information, the audience can then determine what they feel about the information. It's not
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
for you to. Yeah, you're not like going, oh, you're not putting your own judgment on it.
Yeah.
You're creating a medium. It's not like, whereas others have gone in with a specific dogmatic.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I didn't like what I was seeing.
I didn't
on
see
other
the
channels.
Watts using other channels. I saw other channels using the Watts saying, we're going
Exactly.
to help get Chris out.
Absolutely. And that's not what I'm doing. I want to get the questions answered, put the truth out there, not twisting for views or, hey, Ronnie, for 10 seconds, can you say, like, don't watch Armchair Detective or whatever, And I just wanted to go about it differently. And if people
You're not
think
there
I'm
to
using them and
divide.
I'm making all of this
It
money, I'm
could
not.
be the other way
I've
around. A
posted
lot of
my
people
stuff.
could have actually used the Watts, for
That's
getting
what I was
information
saying,
for this,
yeah.
that, and the other. I mean, I don't
Right.
feel like I'm used by them just because they call and talk to me, and and then I think I'm helping by bringing another side out here, and then I get slapped going, "Oh, you're flip sides again." I never have been on a side. My channel has always been unbiased,
Right.
the good, the bad, the ugly, and sometimes unpopular. That's the thing. I don't get all this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what's
Me
the
too.
deal?
I'm
Had
the
it
exact
went to
same way.
trial, all this would have came out anyway. You have a million people out there. Oh, I wished it would have went to trial and we would know everything. Well, do you really?
Mm.
I'm sorry. Ugh.
Or just like that girl who has a book that's coming out today on Kindle and like July 7th on paperback or whatever. She went into that lying. And by the way, I know a little more about that because actually Tanya Hagen, my friend, the author, she was actually trying to help Cindy get out of that book deal. And they wanted out. So she went in, being friends. I was wondering where you were, Bartwan. Being friends with Cindy, and it was supposed to go one way, much like another author we all know. And very quickly, we wanted to follow Cindy from believing that he was innocent to changing her mind all about it. And that didn't happen, so this book went another way.
I don't understand why that Kate was timed out for that. Just like loads of families, denial is rife. In my opinion, it could also be as simple as
It might have been
CW just had an emotional disorder that caused this to end so badly.
I think that had to have been an accident because I don't think that's a bad.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, because that's not a bad comment.
Well, I mean, all you can do, Cher, is put out there what they have told you, and it's up to everybody to accept it or not. You know, it's not, you're not asking them to, you're just saying,
And
here's the
everyone
information
on
that
this
I have.
panel has seen proof that the questions and what's coming back, he hears them on speaker. Mr. Ronnie loves his beard. He's like, Mr. Cher, I love your beard. And so we all up here, and KK can even say, so what I'm saying is, whether you guys want to take it as truth or not, it is
That's
from
totally
the
up to y'all.
sources. Yeah, it's up to you guys, and I'm not saying like
Right.
believe it, but I'm saying I believe them because getting to know them personally and getting to know what kind of people they are, like giving prisoners money to help them get on their feet when they're released and things like that. They are good people. And
Maybe a
just
little too
getting
good.
used a little too good is right, and getting just used and abused in every direction. It's horrible.
And nobody up here is talking bad about Shanann, and none of us are
No.
pointing any fingers at Shanann. I'm addressing the comment that someone said about us bashing a dead woman,
Who
and
said
that's
that?
not what we're doing.
See, that's
was
why you can't give the other
Oh,
side.
no.
Because as soon as you give the other side, then you're being a victim basher. I don't get it.
It's
The
not victim
only
bashing.
thing. I'm sorry. You want to go or you want me to go?
I'll go. It's not. It's because if Chris had never said that Shanann killed the kids, then you would be right. It would be unethical for us to discuss it. But the fact that he did say that, we have a right to speculate about it.
I mean, if it's in the discovery, what the hell? I mean, that's what we're supposed to be discussing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to
It makes as
discuss
much sense
everything.
as
You
speculating
can't just
about NK.
discuss.
I mean, it's not a bowl of Chex Mix. It's a damn case, and it's people's lives, and it's victims, and it is what it is.
And my thing is, no, I don't like what Cindy said about Shanann at the beginning. But what everybody's got to remember, during those interviews, she was still thinking that what her son said was that Shanann killed the girls and he retaliated by killing her. So at the time, she was upset with Shanann and saying things. Now you don't hear her saying those things. And we've seen pictures of the memorial that they have. Shanann's name is clearly on it. They did love her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we're trying to do is
Yes.
prove that to you guys that the Watts are just like any other victim. You don't see like you don't see Scott Peterson's parents getting harassed the way the Watts do, and he's convicted of murdering his wife and unborn child. I mean, it's just crazy. And so the point we're trying to make is that they're victims too. They lost their grandchildren and they lost their daughter-in-law because of what their son did. It's not their fault he did it. Once he left their house, left their home, they have no control over what he does.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not their
Exactly.
Meg, I don't
And
know if
that's
I
the
can
only
clear that
point we're
up or
trying to
not,
make.
but I can say this. As to my knowledge, there was no DNA or forensic testing done on anything. The judge denied all those motions, to my knowledge, and it never continued after he took the plea deal because it was shut down. Now, I don't know if there was. I have no clue of that. It wasn't in the discovery. But what speculation would it take out? Even, I mean, if it was, which speculation? Because I'll definitely ask Ronnie because I'm pretty sure he doesn't know. Wasn't in the discovery, and hell, we know more out here than Ronnie and Cindy does. But I'll definitely see if I can find out. But I'd love to know what speculation it would overrule.
Where did they go? Right here. So, Alicia, if Cindy Watts was say tomorrow to come on this channel and say and describe that interview, how she was feeling, and apologize, say all nice things about Shanann that you can think of in the world. Would that change your point of view? Do you think people would change the point of view? Or do you think this is what I think everyone would do is she's just doing that now to save face. Like, she doesn't mean that. We already seen and heard what she has to say. Now she's just a liar. She's like, do you honestly think, like, I don't.
Well, I'm not saying, I don't know if Alicia actually means she deserves the hate, or if she's just saying that that's why people hate her.
And I get that, but I'm just saying, like, if she came out tomorrow and did an interview and said everything nice you could think of Shanann and apologized for an interview that I don't think she needs to apologize for, because she didn't ask for any of this. Cameras were brought to her. She shocked, deer in headlights. And again, already had issues with a daughter-in-law she didn't get along with, and thought that her daughter-in-law killed her grandchildren, and then her she's lost her son, is locked up too now, and all of this, right? So I don't feel she owes anyone an apology. If anything, I feel people owe her an apology. But I don't think her coming out tomorrow and apologizing is going to change the mind of 9 out of 10 people. Maybe 1 or 2 will be like, oh, I see that differently now. They're just going to call her a liar and say she doesn't mean it anyway.
Bronwyn, I don't think that note would be considered withholding evidence, because they did bring it and it wasn't even put in. But I don't think that they had that letter when it was dated. I think Chris wrote that letter and gave it to his dad the day he actually ended up confessing. I think he gave it to his dad, or when he picked him up from the airport.
Or maybe NK sent it in a day or 2 after.
Maybe, yeah. Because
Sorry, Meg, I
I'm
wasn't
pretty
sure
sure-
there's
NA,
so
she's
many
a liar.
Kims in here. Maybe Kim Kaufman does know, but you'd be surprised the shit I do know about this case.
well, yeah, you've gone through it all. But yeah, like I was saying, the Watts, as soon as Shanann went missing with the girls, if the Watts had that letter, they would have presented it to the police, like immediately. They wouldn't have sat on it. So I don't think they had it then. No, they didn't want the letter because it would look wrong at that point. They should have, like, the fact that they didn't present it immediately when Shanann went missing, saying, you know what, this woman is off her rocker. Here's a letter Chris wrote. But trying to present it before sentencing wouldn't do anything except hurt Chris.
Good night, Sherry.
Hey, Cherry.
Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, you're an awesome girl.
Like, I want to remind you, too, for a good 4 hours, Sandy Ruzek, her mom, Shanann's mom, thought that her daughter and grandchildren were missing. Where are the text messages and phone calls? Like, I just want to know, because
Yeah, why
for
wasn't she
4
blowing up her
hours,
daughter's phone? Yeah, that is
and
weird.
I have 2 daughters, and if I got the call that she got, I'm telling you, not only am I dropping everything I'm doing, I'm getting to wherever the hell my daughter lives. Like, I'm going to be there, and I am nonstop. Like, nobody else is going to get through on her phone, because I'm nonstop keeping that line busy, trying to find, like, where's my kid? Where's my...
Yes.
They didn't know until Chris got there and got through the house. So the call was at like 9:30, whatever, before NA started calling everyone and on the phone with Sandy. So they knew. So from, like, we'll say 9:30 to 1:45 in the afternoon, like, they didn't know Shanann's phone was in that house. Let's not forget this. I find that bizarre. Bizarre.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that one little bit. It's bizarre. Just want to throw that out there. But why would that be taken out of Discovery, Meg? You know what I'm saying? Why would that be out of Discovery? It's weird.
There's so much weird with this case. I
don't
mean,
think
you
that's
can go
taken
on
out
and
of
on and
Discovery.
on for...
Show me the call logs, please, because we've seen what we've seen, and for a mother to be calling, wondering where her daughter is, should not have been taken out of Discovery. Just saying.
Right.
Well, Sandy was on the phone with NA, so
Exactly.
she wasn't
Everything else
calling
was in
Yeah, for
there.
real. We've seen her on police camera for forever on the phone with NA. Go in the house. You have my permission. Go in that house. Well, that's not how it works. But at that time, you're not getting off the phone, texting your daughter, calling her, like, oh, what? You're telling, oh, the car seats are still there? Bye, NA. Trying to call my daughter, you know?
Right?
She didn't get off the phone with that girl. What is up with that? Right, Ashley. I mean, who wouldn't? I just find it crazy. All other calls and texts in the Discovery, except for whatever, you know, NK had everyone delete. But yeah, it makes, I'm sorry. Well, and that's fine. You can take it from what Sandy said, but I want to see from proof, call records. And if Sandy said they took that out of Discovery, but why? Why would that have to be removed from Discovery?
Yeah, everything else was in there.
It just, you're a concerned mother looking for her daughter because she's missing. Redact that.
Why would law enforcement?
That's a weird thing to take out of Discovery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they wouldn't need to use NK's phone because if they wanted to do that, they could have used Chris's. They still have Chris's phone.
Oh, T, please. I mean, no. She could get through. A text message would go through. There's no text. There's no calls. And there's 0 cents why it would be taken away from Discovery. Your daughter's missing, and you're calling.
Well, even if they did, like if you're that worried that your daughter-in-law and all that is that unhinged, and she takes off without the kids or with the kids, you would tell the police that. You would say, "Hey, we even saw it, and Chris even wrote a letter. Like, you need to find this woman now because she's unstable." You wouldn't sit on that.
I put the link in there if KK wants to call in. She sure can.
But again, we're putting our own what would I do in that situation in all of this. You know, maybe they did think, well, she just left in a huff. Nothing's out of the ordinary or whatever. But I mean, as soon as Chris confessed, then they should have handed over the letter. Like that, they should have done it like that day.
That's a good question, Carly. Ew, frogs. That Shanann Watts wasn't close to her mom. That's another thing. That's another thing. And this is true. Chris Watts and Shanann Watts wanted Frank Sr. to move in with them. Shanann and Sandy were not close. That is true. That's true.
Yeah,
Facts.
both families weren't very tight.
Yeah, and families have their issues, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing that, but I think that what's portrayed now isn't what exactly seems to have been happening in real life before the murders is all I'm saying. I don't know how to say it nicely. Everyone's going to twist my shit anyway. Oh, Ronnie Watts.
If you take the call, let him make sure he knows that we're live.
Okay, hold on. Hey, Ronnie. Oh. I'm on a live show right now. You are not on speaker. Can I put you on speaker or no? Just to answer one question, which would be what I texted you about the DA, or you can just tell me and I'll just relay. That's fine. The whole time. Okay, they didn't talk to him. Ronnie's saying they didn't talk to DA or anything the whole time. The only time that they saw him and then knew about the plea, they didn't go fly out to him, was in the courtroom, Ronnie's saying. So. Assistant DA, they talked to them. Well, that was on the phone. They didn't come see you or anything. They just called you up. Assistant DA the night before the plea deal. Okay. Okay. Wow.
Everyone's just dead quiet.
Oh, that's a good reminder. Really quick, Ronnie is reminding me. He asked them, like, what evidence do you have? And they told Ronnie, well, we have a theory. And Ronnie says, well, that's nice, but what evidence do you have? But they just kept telling him they have a theory. So that was it.
They
didn't show the Watts anything, and they were only there for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, they really didn't have a lot of evidence. I mean, other than Chris's own words, they didn't have a lot.
Well, you have to realize when the Watts went over there, I mean, that was another lie. They said they were with them for 2.5 hours, and they weren't. They were there at 9. Now they were there for 30 minutes at 9 p.m. at night. And this is interesting. When I was talking to Chris about that, the Watts didn't meet with the assistant DA until 9 o'clock that night. But the day before Chris was in court, they came to Chris and said, your parents changed your mind. We've talked to your parents. They've seen the evidence against you, and your parents have changed their mind. So they came in and talked to Chris and told Chris that before the Watts had ever even spoken with the assistant DA.
Later, Tammie.
So that's a huge issue.
Yeah, I'm seeing a whole lot of issues. That's sad.
And
Right.
Well, we have a theory. What?
When they were in there with the assistant DA too, I mean, when Ronnie was asking about that, what do you have? They said, well, we have a theory that he left, killed his family to be with his wife or to be with his girlfriend, sorry. And they were like, almost like petting Cindy and saying, you raised such a good son. He's taken responsibility for all of this. And he's, not going to put anyone through this. And Cindy was like, it just felt so like sick to them. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just so not right.
Have anyone ever thought that Chris didn't want to see them? He is a grown man. No, I don't believe that. Especially being thrown into solitary confinement for 93 days, I believe, wasn't it? And I mean, you don't go to jail and not want to see anyone. He has never been to jail, and he's being thrown into prison and stuff. You can't tell me no. I don't believe for 1 minute he didn't want to talk or see his family.
Well, I mean, the whole case had been built around Ronnie was his best friend, so that doesn't even make sense.
Right, that doesn't make sense.
And he was only taken out of solitary for 3 weeks prior to his parents coming. Someone actually in the jail complained about Chris's conditions because he was only like in a drunk take holding cell on suicide watch, basically. So his conditions were very, very meager, I guess. They sent someone in to take pictures to document it. And the day they sent someone in, they moved Chris to a bigger, like more appropriate cell, took images of Chris in that cell, and then put him back in his smaller little guy once they left.
Wow.
Do you see Meg's comment, Kim?
Say that again.
Do you see Meg's comment? So touching on MK being at the courthouse smoking at Chris.
She was not in the courtroom. She was being interviewed down. So you guys have seen the perp walk where Chris is walking in. And I don't know if many of you guys know this, that when he was walking in, that reporter yelled to him, Chris, why'd you kill your whole family? Like he had no idea why that person asked that. He had no idea that the media was saying that he had, admitted to killing his whole family or whatever. So when he walks back out, that's where the media was stationed. That was right there, and then it was down around, like she was standing outside of the hall in like off of an interview room as he was being escorted out. And he did think, because they had had a conversation that she was not going to talk to the media. Chris obviously had known what had happened and basically said, the media's already involved. I don't want you drug into this. So if someone reaches out to you, don't comment. And so when he found out that she had commented to the media, it really was like, wait, what? You talked to the police? You've talked to, like, what is going on? And then the fact that she was there, he was like, what is happening? Like it really threw him for a loop.
Hey, Mia.
Right, couple stars later.
Hey, Mia.
So she wasn't in the actual courtroom. She was just out. And that's why I mentioned that to Cher earlier. I told her earlier. That's why the media didn't have any contact with her. They didn't necessarily know that she was there. They were in the same area.
She smirked at him after he was sentenced. Yes.
Yes.
After
Yeah.
sentencing, walking back out down that hall.
Well, Delaney, we can't answer that question because we're not him.
Delaney, what's the question? Nobody can answer the only question that matters. Why won't he tell his parents? So, I mean, I guess here is the answer. I mean, he's told his parents, like, from the beginning, like, what he told Ronnie was the truth. Like, he wouldn't lie to his dad. I mean, that was something so important when he was in Wisconsin, because remember, he never told the judge or the DA anything else besides his original confession as far as arrest, the warrantless arrest affidavit. And he continued to tell his parents, stick behind what he said about the Wisconsin interview until they came up with when the detectives came up to Wisconsin. That's when that changed. He was asked what he told his parents or what he told the detectives, and he told his parents that. Now, at the time when that Wisconsin confession came out, he told me right away, like, debunk that, like, prove that wrong, basically. They weren't leaving until he told them something. And you can see the information that he gives them, it progresses over the length of time that they're there. So he has said that multiple times, that it goes back to his very first confession. He would not lie to his dad, but it seems like the more he's pressured to add more details, the more he's like, well, I need to answer for this and answer for that and answer for this. But when he's not being pressured to answer all these speculations, he just goes back to, I would not lie to my dad. He is my best friend.
Yeah, I don't think he would lie to Ronnie either. I could see him being like a little more walking, I guess, on eggshells with his mom because, I mean, she's just so fragile. Cindy's just so fragile. She just sounds like, her voice breaks my heart when I hear it. She just sounds
right,
broken.
It's so sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry he didn't. What did that say? I'm sorry he didn't talk about putting blankets over daughters' heads for Powerade. What? We were doing so good, people. This is a good group of people with open minds, so just don't be rude to panel guests, please, because we're really just trying to.
We're just talking the case. We're not bashing
Talking the
anybody.
case, not bashing, and just honestly, whether you guys like KK or not, like, she is helpful. Like, she still backs the Watts, and she was around them, so she does know things. So if you can believe the same things I'm saying is actually the same things she's saying right now.
None of us know
Right.
what the truth is. We don't. We have our
all we know
our
is
theories
what
and our beliefs, but none of us know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
all we know
Denise.
is what Chris keeps saying, and there's several different stories. So
Yeah, like, if you ask me, and no offense to Mr. and Mrs. Watts, Chris's brain is a bag full of cats. You cannot believe anything he says.
Thank you, Denise.
no,
Awesome.
you cannot.
Yeah, and it couldn't
Like,
be.
best case scenario, he was involved in these murders, so you're actually going to take his word for anything? Like, I don't think lying would be beyond his moral reach.
Well, and Chris has never denied, as far as, his original confession, he's never gone back so that didn't happen. I mean, as far as his involvement, he's always taken accountability for putting his hands on Shanann and then taking them to his work site. So regardless of the girls, he has never stepped away from his responsibility for that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing though, Donkey Kong Andy. Wait, okay, I get Chris has lied. I get that. But again, here we are, just like all of the documentaries where we're picking and choosing what we feel he's telling the truth about, and we're picking and choosing that he's lying about everything else. I feel like it's, I don't know, we want it both ways. Like, we're honestly at a point where he can't win no matter what, and he doesn't deserve to. All I'm saying that, let's say NK just said, hey, I think you should kill your family. That to me is enough where that bitch should be in prison. Because Chris was not
Right.
stable, and you're putting this in their head. No
Yeah.
matter what, again, I want to remind you, Ruzick say they. They put thoughts in my brother-in-law's head. Frankie Jr. Ruzick's own words, I have it screenshotted, okay, all over social media. They. So that's more than just Chris. And again, if all they did was what Frankie says and put thoughts in his head and he acted on them, his exact words, why do they deserve to be free? I don't care if Chris just acted on what was put in his head or if he had help with cleanup or whatever. Those people deserve to be in prison for life. Children
Sharon,
and a pregnant woman died.
I think
Murdered.
I think when Frankie's saying that, though, he's referring to Tammie Lee and Coder putting those thoughts in his head. I don't think he's speaking about somebody else.
You know,
I didn't think
that's a
about
good. I mean, that
yeah.
is a good point.
That-
But I
that's-
still
that's the
feel
part
like
that they
it's
go back to
NK and
every time.
Jim.
They keep saying it's, Tammie Lee takes all the credit. Like, I told him this. I put this in his head. They did. So when
This
they're
is where me
speaking,
and KK different because I feel like she's a little protective over NK, but
no, let me
but
tell you
it is a
something.
good point.
When it comes to NK, that's what people misunderstand about me is that, the Watts know that. Chris knows that. I have no care in the world for NK. But
Yeah.
I believe Tammie Lee was arrogant enough and egotistical enough that if they had anything on NK, they would have hung her up for it because they didn't have anything enough to hang Chris. Does that make sense? I just don't see when she herself states in multiple interviews that she was protective of Shanann and Shanann can do all these different things. I just don't believe that another woman being involved, because she related to Shanann so much on a personal level, it was like a personal attack. So it was almost like if there was a woman involved in her relationship with her husband. So her seeing that, I believe if they had stuff, because they did have her cell, right? They had her dump. They had Chris's. They would have had more of the pings, more of the search history. If they could have had even like that, even an accomplice, something, where, because it is a crime share for her. If she were to encourage Chris to kill his family and they had anything about that, she would be charged. And this whole idea, I think, was they say, oh, Anadarko and the government had some conspiracy. That doesn't line up with the fact that then they went to Wisconsin and put the murders of the girls in the oil field. That doesn't make sense. I cannot see that they would try to protect that and then turn around a few months later and then put them at the scene of the oil field. That just doesn't go together to me.
That's true.
I disagree, but
I disagree.
respect your opinion. Yep. It's about different
disagree,
opinions,
yeah.
so yeah. I don't know. I definitely think that they meant NK and Jim, and yeah, I just don't think there was other people there.
And I'll
I
say
really
this about-
take when he says they had their hand. It's like they had their hands on mine. They put thoughts into his head.
Exactly,
I
yep.
just-
How am I going to save my kids?
A lot
How
of
will
that,
I save
though,
my kids? Don't
a
kill
lot of
them,
that,
like
though,
Mr.
Cher-
Cher said.
Yeah, that was my thinking. How do I save my kids, man? How do I keep my kids but keep them from telling the world that I killed their mom?
Well,
That's where I took it.
And Sher, you might not know this, though, but a lot of that demon possession and all those different things came in after Sherilyn had talked to him. Like, she
Yeah, I
said
agree with that.
She
I
told
definitely agree with that.
She told Chris, I
Yeah,
believe the
I agree
demon
with
was
that.
attached to NK. You met her. The demon jumped off of her and jumped onto you. And so that's where that actually it all started at.
And that we had a rake, we had a shovel thing. If he means the company, it does make sense that he would say we.
That's
Like
exactly.
if
and
he
you
didn't
listen-
personally own them, like if it was the companies and they have them there, which a lot of those sites do have a rake and a shovel and a couple other items, he would say we. meaning
That's
as in
exactly
the
what he
company.
was talking about. If you listen to that, when he's saying that, he says, we have these provide like that is the company stuff. So that is, Sher, you're right. That, or Mr. Sher, that's exactly right. He was referring to the company property, I guess.
But I wonder what he meant when he said I didn't even have a thought of my own.
Like the way he describes it, I'm not a psychologist, but it does sound to me like he just lost his freaking mind. Like, it's like they had their hands on me. I felt this darkness and I had no thoughts of my own. And how do I save my kids? Like, it sounds like someone who just lost his shit and was basically watching himself do this stuff like it was a movie.
But Mr. Sher realized that information
Well, he just-
only came out after Sherilyn had talked to him about that. That's the
Yeah,
concern, is
that's
that
after the fact.
that had never happened, never been said or discussed at all until that happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if I say you can't believe what Chris said, then you
Yeah.
can't believe that. You can't believe his
Yeah.
first story either, but you can't believe any of it.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing with the back end. Why we have tried to talk so much about what's happened behind the scenes, so as stuff has come out, people do understand that. Like what and why and how things have been done, or that kind of thing. Well, and Mr. Sher, I'll answer you about the letter too, as far as what happened. When they first found out from Chris that she was gone, they only believed that she had just taken off, and it was like to punish the girls, right? So there was nothing for the Watts to believe that something more sinister had happened. Now, when Chris went to the jail, or it was questioned by the police and confessed, at that point, they never spoke to the Watts. So the Watts weren't able to be in contact with the defense, with the police, with the DA, nothing. So the very first contact they had to even speak about anything. And that's why Cindy went on to talk to the news. She wanted to say, hey, this was my experience with my daughter-in-law. I think something's wrong. Something else needs to be looked into. This was my experience. And when the defense came out, because the Watts were trying to give the defense information to fight for Chris, and they just shut it down. They said, we're just here to save his life. Stop. We don't care about that. We don't want, they took nothing from the Watts, nothing. And Cindy, that's their story. When Chris was there in North Carolina saying, I'm looking for an apartment, 2 bedrooms. And I've admitted this on my channel 1,000 times. Chris did not include the baby in those discussions. He specifically only said the 2 girls. I'm looking for an apartment, 2 bedrooms, bunk beds for the girls, looking for a car, because obviously we needed a vehicle to do stuff day to day. And Cindy was concerned because of Shanann's irrational behavior that was going on that summer. That's where that letter came from. Chris didn't want to write that. He actually kind of argued about it. It was like, there's nothing that's going to happen. Like Cindy and Ronnie had discussed even going home with him because he was moving out and they were separating. And Chris was like, it'll be fine. Like, I guess when you think something bad can happen, you also don't think it's going to happen to that extent. People say, I'll kill you if you do this, but you don't really think that that's, I think, going to happen. But the minute they could, and they knew that something like that was a possibility, they did try to provide that letter. It was just, there was never a discussion from the defense about even fighting for Chris. I mean, Chris was introduced to a plea deal 6 days after being in jail. So there was no defense being prepared for him at all. Zero.
Okay, but what I don't get is, at what point did they find out that he told the police Shanann killed the girls and he killed Shanann? Because that is the exact moment they should have turned that letter over.
Right when Ronnie messaged, or Ronnie was in there, you see him on the thing messaging Jamie to talk to her. And then they went over.
That's when they should have turned that letter over.
Right. So that's when they were trying to get in touch with people. They weren't allowed to. I don't know if you guys know this, but when Ronnie was escorted out that night, you hear him say, I'm going to get you an attorney, I'm going to get you a lawyer, whatever. 3 times he mentions that. When Coder escorts him out of the room, he's like, we'll help you with that in the morning. So when Ronnie left that room, I mean, realize that they're already trying to turn over evidence against Shanann in that moment. Like when you see Ronnie opening his phone, talking about the doll picture, they were on that process and wanting to do that. They wanted nothing to do with the Watts and having information. So when Ronnie tried to come back the next morning to talk to Chris and figure those things out, they never let Chris talk to Ronnie again. And Ronnie had zero contact at that moment either with police, DAs, investigators, nobody. So the Watts, I think, were under the impression that after that moment that there would be that time to have these discussions and bring that information forward, and they were shut down. They were completely boxed out.
Yeah, see, that just doesn't smell right to me.
No,
that was my kid, and he said, I found out that's what he said, I'd be giving that letter directly to the police. Wouldn't be giving it to the defense lawyers. I'd be giving it to the police.
Yeah, but
they didn't even.
They probably thought they were giving it to the right people.
They wouldn't even talk to Ronnie. When Ronnie came back the next morning, they wouldn't talk to him. Ronnie was like, "Can I see my son?" He was there all at the jail trying to talk to anybody, and they wouldn't talk to Ronnie at all. He came back and changed his flight. Came back the next day, and again tried to have contact, and they wouldn't. Nothing. They were completely boxed out. So there was no ability to even have a conversation. And Cindy was back east, so they couldn't like give it to them, but there was no one to talk to. So you guys have seen the extent of what he was able to speak about and how long it was. It wasn't even that long, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on that. They should have, as soon as that's what they knew, they should have said, "Okay, we got to get that letter to the police."
Well, that was the conversations that were happening, but they just, I mean, like you said, you only
No,
see
there's
that.
there's no explaining it. That's what they should have done.
Well, that's my point. I mean, Ronnie was only on his phone for a second in there with them, and then he was walked out. So that was the conversation when he was already trying to provide evidence to them. They weren't listening to that. They didn't want. They're just now finding that out. They're waiting to go talk to Cindy, and Ronnie's under the impression that they're going to be. They want that. They want to give information. They want to share that, and they just wanted. That's why they walked him out. They wanted Ronnie out of there. They didn't. I don't believe they really wanted information from Ronnie, to be honest.
No, they obviously didn't, but that wouldn't have stopped me, is what I'm saying. I would have walked in and handed the police that letter.
Well, he didn't have the letter with him. The letter was in North Carolina. It was from.
He should have gone and got it and come back and given it to the police, is what I'm saying.
Well, I understand that.
Cindy
That's what I would have
somebody
done.
should have brought it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. When the Watch tried to turn it over, I mean, they didn't even know who Chris's defense attorney was for so long because they weren't being included, which, again, part of the victim's rights process was being violated because they weren't included in any of those things that were going on.
Yeah. But I mean, if like you were saying, if they thought that things weren't, like, they didn't realize how quickly things were going along.
Oh, they had no idea.
So it does make sense that they didn't turn it over right away. But I'm just saying that they should have.
Yeah, well, like I said, they had tried. There was just no one that would. There was no one on the receiving end. I mean, they weren't answering phone calls to the Watts. They weren't.
Which is probably why they just finally gave it to the defense attorney.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
That's
the
exactly
police
why.
weren't wanting it.
Yeah,
Well, they weren't
that
even
makes more
talking to
sense
them. They
now.
weren't even interviewing the Watts. The Watts were like, well, do we get to have a chance to have our say? And there was nothing. There was zero contact.
I mean, they probably honestly forgot about it. I don't know. I mean, at that point, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he should have mentioned it to the police in that room.
I'm going to.
But-
Ronnie said he'll call me tomorrow. I'll bring it up again and just ask him.
I don't know.
Ask him what he says about it and give it to you guys.
I still have that
fresh.
thought that Chris wrote that letter after and gave it to his dad after, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and I'll say this. That's why we had that. You guys remember the recording of there was a person with the reporters who spoke up and asked about the letter. That's specifically when I spoke with her at my house for 5 hours, why we had her ask the DA about the letter, because we wanted that letter in their hands. And he's like, what letter? What letter? So we wanted that because we needed to show people that the Watts were trying everything they could to participate and fight for this, and there was a complete shutout. So we were thankful to have that question asked live in the press conference and for that reaction to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Do you think
hindsight
Nicole will come
things.
out? I do not believe. I don't think anytime soon that she'll come out. I don't believe so. You guys have to realize.
I believe she's in witness protection right now, and that was part of the name change. When she got her name changed, she's in witness protection. I believe she was already in protection before that, but just not like actual witness protection. When they seen how hated she is, I mean, think of some of the things that had just happened to YouTubers saying
YouTubers
things.
who are disagreeing with each other. How violent
Yeah,
it gets.
so I can imagine, like, she's actually, if you go on Google, she is listed as one of the most hated women in America. So that would, everyone say, well, she doesn't qualify. That qualifies for witness protection, which goes along with the name change. That also is a reason why, no, she is not writing him in prison under her new name. And Dylan Tallman is a liar. Just throwing that out there, but that's a whole nother show.
That's why.
And how can she be stalked if she's in witness protection and nobody knows where or who she
But
is
that was
anymore?
not NK in Larry's pictures.
She's
or
not
whoever
being
got those
stalked.
pictures. Yeah, that was not
That was
NK.
right.
And so you guys know, per the Colorado Victims' Rights Act, she was given protection for 2 years. When that 2 years expired, which is why it was in November, that's why she had to change her name, because at that point she was then basically released from that protection, and then was basically taking things into her own hands. Whether she has, been able to finagle some type of deal after that, I'm not sure. But that's the 2-year period when she was like dark was because of the protection under that.
I mean, that girl's gonna
From
have to
Colorado.
go through some like cosmetic surgery to change her appearance or something, and change her name and literally like move and change her appearance, or
Yeah, she's gonna have to go
forever people
somewhere.
are gonna be hunting her down. And that's just
You
the
have, to,
truth.
you have to realize too that they used her. I think that even for her, there's really some kind of frustration that they lied to her. They told the Rusiks and her immediately that Chris confessed to everything, which is a fabrication. It wasn't true. So, and then when they released the Denver Post article, I mean, that even made Chris upset. Like, why is she lying? Because he thought she was lying. Well, she wasn't lying. They were just putting together bits and pieces of previous interviews and making it seem like that. And even Chris at the time was like, why is she lying in that interview?
If you're gonna be a sheep, Mandy, be a black sheep. Be bad.
Well, I think people don't realize either that NK in her phone only had 150 contacts, not a whole lot. And I've always said this, if I saw NK had deleted her information in her phone and had broken her SIM card, all that stuff a day or two or even a week before, then I'd be like, okay, there's a problem with that. The fact that she did it after, I'm like, that doesn't go along with like, trying to hide certain things. And if they were so smart, I mean,
Well,
I
she
would
definitely wanted something hidden.
We'll be all the way real. I've told KK that I think that
Yeah.
she's too protective of NK. She knows my thoughts.
Oh
on
no,
that,
I know
but
you know that. Yeah, I know you believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm kind of halfway in between you two. I mean, I know she's hiding shit. I just don't know what. I don't think she was involved in the murders.
Yeah, she's hiding stuff.
Well, I think a lot of her stuff that she mentions wanting to hide that she's embarrassed about was the sexual nature of their conversation. She mentions that like it is really bad. And I think as a woman, I mean, I think that was part of it. But now, Cher, how do you explain this though? I mean, there was no reason for her to come forward yet, and she comes forward multiple times over and over. And if you think about the information she was providing the police, like her stating, Chris mentioned that the beds smelled, so he had changed their sheets. That to an officer would indicate a potential crime happened. They lose their bowels. There's going to be a smell or a stench in the beds. That's going to lead the police to believe that a crime had happened there. So it doesn't make sense that she would share that if she was in fact trying to hide or protect or have been involved somehow. And on top of that, it's like she was overly sharing, like she was texting and emailing and all these different things. I would think to protect, from slipping or, changing stories or mixing up details, that you'd be waiting for contact versus overly providing information, like an excess of information.
Okay, so if we just didn't want the bad sexual things out there, why was everything wiped clean? Almost, everything.
Right.
So why not just delete the sexual pictures and videos that you're worried about and hand in everything else?
Exactly.
I
agree.
Like
when they were
I could get not wanting the sexual stuff out there, but to be honest, if I'm about to be blamed for an entire family being massacred, I am overlooking that, because if the police leak my sexual things, I'm suing everybody. So, and she wanted money. I mean, that's.
But you have to remember the deletion. The deletion came before there was the family massacre, right? So she wasn't trying to protect the family massacre. She was trying to protect the little, sexualness of it. I guess makes sense. It
should have only been the sexual stuff deleted.
Okay, now about what Sharon said, it should have only been the sexual stuff. What if it was only sexual stuff on there?
Right, and that's the big problem.
So then she would just delete everything because that's all it was.
And that's a big majority of their conversations, he would say. So if you're thinking about picking and choosing to go back through and delete, 6 months of conversations, that's going to be hard, especially when she's trying to come forward. And you have to realize too, I mean, with the software, they are able to pull a lot of stuff back. They're not, it wasn't gone. I mean, they have a bunch of information, and they have stuff from Chris's phone too. So
she told
Chris's phone wasn't deleted.
But she told her friends to delete everything
Chris too.
Right, but Chris didn't do it.
And Chris to delete everything.
Now, I would say if Chris did delete it, I'd be concerned, but he didn't do that. Makes sense. So he didn't erase all of his files. He didn't crush his phones. He was willingly turning them over. If he had, I'd be worried about that. Like, what are you doing, buddy? You know?
Really quick, Dalen, I understand, but the point of this Thursday series we want to do is about different opinions, and so far all of us up here have different opinions, and while KK and us have a lot of different opinions, we have some of the same opinions. This shows what we want. We want the different opinions, much like The View was what I was going off of. So I appreciate you being respectful and not wanting to listen, though, but I just don't want people to be more open-minded than that.
Well, a lot of people have wanted to ask Chris questions, and I'm literally the only person. I've talked to Chris longer than anybody else. And so a lot of the questions we'll have is not even my opinion. It's just giving you the information that Chris has said. And there is a very, very, very big difference between Chris in the Wisconsin interview, the Cheryl Cadle, which, I mean, I've gone into on my channel the reasons behind the things he has said. And share, that's going to be something I talked to you actually offline about so that you can have an understanding too from Chris. More of that, I think it would help, especially with you and with Mr. Cher having slightly different views on this stuff. It might be like right in the middle for you guys to have some answers and have a deeper conversation because there is so much back information that people aren't aware of. And if we're talking to the Watts, I mean, they trust, and they think you're going to see that it's very. Well, I say, they say, I say, it's very, and they're going to trust that with you since you're talking to them. So I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you about them so you can, start to put some of those different pieces together and have a broader picture than the public has.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, Cher might have more of an interest in answers for the case, but I don't think we're ever going to get any more answers than what we have. My interest in talking with the Watts is just to find a way to show the world, like I'm doing my anti-drama kick. I just want people to stop hating them.
Yeah, I want them to be seen as human again. You know, like I mean, KK, you can agree on this. I'm damn sure they are stuck on August 13th today.
100%.
They're stuck on that day, and that's heartbreaking. Like,
and that's the other thing, because that's the only thing anyone will talk to them about.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to them about like everything else.
And I do.
Everything except for those days.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think that
Ronnie can tell me about his childhood and shit.
Yeah.
If you call him Rockin' Ronnie, he'll appreciate it.
Rockin' Ronnie.
Rockin' Ronnie.
If you haven't seen his long hair from back in the day, you'll definitely appreciate it. I'm sure.
Oh, I gotta see that. Tell me he had a fro at one point.
He had long,
long band hair.
Long hair. The short shorts, the long hair. He was
Rockin' Ronnie.
He was doing his thing back then. Yes.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of stuff I want people to see.
Yeah, people have a very big misunderstanding about the Watts, specifically because of Cindy's statements to the media.
Well,
but you have to take into consideration that when Shanann was alive, even though Shanann had multiple, had put out multiple things about Cindy herself, you'll never find a negative comment from Cindy the whole time. As a matter of fact, even though there was that confrontation, Shanann owned Cindy's profile, basically. She would go on there, post comments all the time, run her business through Cindy's profile. Cindy supported those things as much as she possibly could. Even with that summer, I mean, Shanann had been at the house for 5 days prior to the nut incident. Cindy had taken out and went and bought Shanann and the girls like $400 worth of groceries with Shanann to make that the best day for them. So I think people do misunderstand Cindy's feelings about her. I mean, did they have disagreements? Yeah, but I think it's been really blown out of proportion, and it's under a microscope because of the case. But you have to realize she's spoken out for maybe let's say 30 minutes max. In 2.5 years, her son's in prison for a crime. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I think 30 minutes is not very long. I mean, I feel like it's not even enough. I feel like she needs more time to explain, certain things and answer questions. Because and people need to realize that media thing was, like Mr. Cher was saying, if you're concerned, express concern. Well, they weren't allowed to have any concern expressed, and that was her chance to do that.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, Mia asked, why did Ronnie say, did they leave then? Because at that time, I actually did a video on that. Ronnie thought that the girls were still alive.
Yes.
So he thought that Chris and them got in a fight and he hurt Shanann.
Yes.
And then he said, did they leave then? As in, did Shanann and the girls leave then? Because Ronnie thought that the girls were missing.
Yeah,
He didn't know
those
that they were
first
dead.
statements from Chris, he wasn't comprehending murder. He wasn't a very brutal crime. He was thinking, again, argument, something happened, leaving for punishment, argument, leaving to punish. There was no thought. And if you guys really pay attention to Ronnie, he's a good example of how Chris is, as far as you see Ronnie hearing this information, he does realize there was a murder that happened. Chris is part of that. The girl's dead, Shan's dead. And he's very in his phone, very next step, next step, next step. And as a matter of fact, when he goes home to North Carolina, he goes back to work, doesn't even miss a day, doesn't miss one day of work. So his personality, as you guys get to talk to him more too, you will see so many traits of Chris and Ronnie, and then so many in Cindy. And one thing I will clear up for your guys' listeners is there's a big misunderstanding that Chris liked Shan or fell in love with Shan because of his relationship with his mom. What people do not understand is that Cindy almost says that she regrets not having one with Chris, because the way their parenting style was Ronnie was with Chris and Cindy was with her daughter. So there wasn't a lot of that cross-pollination. I mean, Cindy said, I never had to worry about Chris. Like, he just was a good kid. So she was more concerned about her daughter. And, it was kind of more, not divided, but like Ronnie and Chris went to go to the races, and Jamie and Cindy were like shopping buddies. And, so there wasn't that. And as you guys get to know Cindy, you'll realize that she's actually the exact opposite of that. Confrontation for her is not her best thing. And she's more of a pleaser, very, very passive. But, at certain points, she will speak up, and then instantly she cowers, like, oh, I should have done that. I'm scared. So she's the exact opposite of how she's been portrayed, for sure.
Cup of stars. I share children with a covert narcissist. He's actually facing 11 years in prison currently. I can't say too much right now, but he's a very, very bad, abusive man. I do not see that in Chris, and I know abuse very well, and I know it physically, I know it mentally, I know it sexually, and I do. I see him as a battered man. I do. I've said that all along.
Hey, road delay.
They say hurt knows hurt, and I think the reason I don't think he would kill his kids is because I've been in situations, toxic, long-term relationships where I stay in them knowing that they're horrible and toxic, and if anything, I actually think Shanann was the narcissist, but that's a whole nother show. I'm not victim bashing. That's just my personal opinion on what I have witnessed and researched myself. And I absolutely see in him a mentally broken down man.
When you have to realize,
touch on what Kate Lily's saying there, his reaction. My brother is like that. He'll laugh sometimes, but he's never really happy, and it doesn't matter how devastating the news is, he's never really that sad. Like at my mother's funeral, I was a mess, Dad was a mess, Sherry was a mess, my brother was just standing there like it was just another day. It's not like he doesn't care, just he doesn't have that. He doesn't go as far into his emotions as normal.
They don't have the high highs or the low lows. They're
exactly. It's very
stable.
even.
Yes. Yep.
I've seen my brother so mad, like what should have been just rant and raving mad, and he was barely raising his voice.
Right. And that's I think the point that people have to understand. Even when Chris speaks about being in a rage, his version of a rage is even yelling at somebody. I mean, his version of a rage is so different than how we take it. When we classify things with words, you have to realize Chris doesn't do that. To say he was abused, to say Shanann was controlling, you won't hear that come from his mouth. You won't hear those descriptive words to personality behaviors, because Chris doesn't think like that. He's a half, instead of like that half, the empty glass half full. Chris is an overfilling kind of guy.
Men are built to really not say anything about
We're
that either.
We're supposed to internalize, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, men, and you see him abused, they don't want to see it, but absolutely, but it's, and again, like Bartwan had said, we have women, like the Blue-Eyed Butcher, using battered women syndrome, stabbed her husband 100 and some odd times or more, chopped him up in pieces and buried in the garden, but because she was a battered woman, she's out free today.
Yeah.
That's
There's
crazy.
a bit of a
Okay.
double standard though, and there should be, because
I don't think there
if
should
you
be.
were an abusive person, I wouldn't ever consider my life is in danger with you,
But that's wrong. Why does it make it
because
different?
you can't beat me to death.
You don't know that.
Yeah, I do. I could beat you to death. I mean, it's just a biological fact.
I'm small and mighty. I could.
So I mean, there is a difference there with men and women, but like I do see what she's saying. Like mental abuse is no joke.
Mental abuse
But
is different.
I'm
than
saying
physical, yeah.
it's different.
So you think the mental is different between female and male, even breaking down someone
No,
mentally?
no. If I mentally abuse you and you killed me, you should be in prison.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm physically abusing you and you think you're actually going to be killed sometime and you kill me, you should be free. That's the difference.
So, Mr. Share, what do you guys think about the one thing that Chris did fight on with the plea deal was that his charge was a domestic violence charge as far as the murder with Shanann? It was based around domestic violence. I think that's critical. Most people overlook that, but I think that's critical.
I think it's critical too.
Yep.
Well, we've gone over 2 hours now.
Yeah, that's like 5 hours of streaming.
Yeah, today.
We did a Canada Day one on my channel earlier. Of course, most of you didn't show up. But
really quick, because my new co-host, I just want to see, Nelly, do you have anything you want to say before we end this on what we've discussed or anything to close up with?
Yeah, I just want to say that, we all have different opinions, and, there's some things that y'all said that I don't agree with, but we can all get along peacefully and discuss this peacefully. And I don't understand why that's so hard to understand. All we're trying to do is point out that the Watts are people too. They lost their daughter-in-law. They lost their grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
We're not here to tell you who did it, how they did it, or whatever, because we don't know. All we know is what we've been told by Chris, and Chris has told multiple stories.
Well,
so I don't think we're ever going to know what really happened. But I think that everybody attacking the Watts just because Chris is their son is wrong.
Yeah.
They have hearts
and attacking
too.
each other. Like this inter-YouTuber hatred, all this bullshit has to stop.
Well, and I'll say this, people don't know this, but that was when the Watts spoke in front of the court that day, they were told they could address Chris. So that's why there wasn't a bigger conversation about the girls or Shanann. That was when Ronnie and Cindy walked out of that courtroom that day. That is the one thing that ate Ronnie up, that he wasn't or didn't feel that he could address or say something about Shanann. And I think that is, people really do, even though they have strong feelings about the case or certain questions, concerns, there's still an underlying relationship, and it's been misconstrued that the whole thing was hateful, the whole thing was negative, the whole thing was bad. Shanann and her always fought. That's not true. As a matter of fact, that second 3-day period when Shanann was there, so the night before, the nut incident, Cindy said, we had the best conversation about our moms. Like, we were bonding over our relationship with our moms. Like, they were in tears over the conversation. And so that's just not talked about enough, and it's not believed, or it's not, and that's the truth. I mean, Cindy and Ronnie talk about Shanann. I mean, even if they have concerns about things that she's done, there's also still the human aspect of their relationship together, prior to the crime, that they are aware of, and they do, like I said, you'll never be able to go back on social media and find anything that Cindy has said, even though we can see when Shanann kind of lost her marbles that summer, and she did post a lot of mean things. So it's not like Cindy's been dishonest about her relationship with Shanann,
No.
Yeah.
But my point is that they can't even go to the gravesite of their grandchildren and their daughter-in-law without being attacked or having people throw stuff at them and call them horrible names. So they've had to build their own memorial in their backyard.
Yeah, that's throwing rock. Cup of stars. Thank you so much, you guys.
I get it. if you don't like them, fine and dandy, then just turn around and go away. Why do you
Yeah.
gotta
Mm-hmm.
start shit with people? I just don't get
And-
that. Maybe it's because I was raised different, but
Well, we'll
they're
discuss
people
all the
too.
psychological crap with the drama over on my stream.
Yeah.
That's my kick.
Yeah. Thanks, KK, for joining us tonight. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. We'll definitely talk tomorrow or something.
Something. Okay, guys, you guys have a good rest of your night.
You too.
I'm gonna jump off of here. Okay, bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tammie, any last words?
Keeping us in suspense.
She's suspenseful. Tammie, my love.
I'm in suspense and y'all.
Yep.
I just I just think that I don't think that Shanann killed her kids, and I don't think that he killed the Shanann or the kids. I think that he had help.
Mm.
Well, there you go.
That's just how I feel about it. But
Yep.
MamaKim?
No, it's her turn to keep us in suspense.
Mama?
she
No,
fell
I'm
asleep.
good. I'm good. I don't have nothing. Thank you for inviting me, though.
I love you.
Love you, girl.
I will call you tomorrow, Mama.
All right, honey.
Well, everyone, thank you for the super chats, and I'm glad a lot of people seem to like it, the different opinions, and people are respectfully not wanting to listen to certain guests. That's fine. I get it. Thank you for keeping it respectful, and not saying nasty things, but having an open mind and hearing. We wanted the different opinions. That's what I wanted from this show on Thursdays.
That's where you're gonna learn. If all you ever watch are people who say the same thing you believe, you're never
It's
gonna
boring.
learn anything new.
Well said.
Right.
And exactly.
You have to
It would
listen to
be
people
boring.
you don't like to learn shit.
Hey, Janessa. Hey, chicken. Hey, chicken.
And that was the whole point of setting this up, was for us to all point out our different views and still walk away as a family loving each other.
Yes.
You know, that's the
Exactly.
bottom
Yep.
line.
Thank you, Jabberjaws and Bronwyn. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
And Bartwan, you're not here still, but thank you so much. That was good having you on the panel, and hopefully we can collab again soon.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kate. All right,
Thank you, Kate. Oh,
Ta-ta for now. Love you guys.
Good night.
Love you guys too. Good night.
good night.
Bye,
Night,
everybody.
Nelly.